looked. And let's not forget, going into today, they actually had the most game wins of anyone. Yes, by virtue of the fact that their group had 5 other games. But they didn't drop a single game. On top of that, Nemesis didn't look great in game 1. So if we were taking day 1 just on itself alone, we're like, okay, Komai's actually got a good look here, but Nemesis was so clinical in their round of 12 match.
Yeah, they really were. Now, Komai Esports have not had the chance to play yet today. They are the final team with a bye that has been waiting for the rest of the tournament to commence. I'm sure they are so excited to finally be up on that stage and getting some games in. Bans are going to be really interesting. Nemesis leaning into that Hoopa ban has been pretty frequent against Komai, but only 4% in our tournament.
Yeah. I think, honestly, the loss of Hyperspace Hole has probably made that ban rate way lower than it would have been with Hyperspace Hole. Of course, one of the most useful utility moves and rotational moves in the entire game. Mewtwo Y, an interesting ban choice. Now, we don't see that as often. A lot of people like to see that drop through draft. This, not so much, though. Zante going to get that Inteleon first pick.
Well, yeah, I'm actually really curious where Nemesis is getting this intel that Mewtwo Y feels like a strong ban. I mean, Zante has been playing Inteleon, Miraidon, and Pikachu from what we have seen so far in the event, but Liardo is going to be locking in that Blaziken. I mean, what a light show from that player in the last time we got to see them. And Leo going to be grabbing the Eldegoss.
Leorio, not to be confused with Leo. Two very, very different
Well, now I'm going to get them
that.
confused.
No, you'll be fine, you'll be fine. Nemesis, meanwhile, going to lock in that Miraidon. Slick Spoon, 2 glasses. Feels like a charge beam to me. Metallic, meanwhile, had a phenomenal series on that Blaziken just a moment ago. Zacian locked in for them. Early game monster.
Yeah, definitely early game monster as well. It's just a really good brawler. It's a nice answer to Blaziken, especially in the early game. Now, Komai Esports might want to send Liario either into the central or bottom path to get those experience instead of trying to contend with Metallic. Gek currently hovering a few different defender options, and right now, the option they're thinking about is the Lapras, but a last-second switch to Slowbro is going to make a little more sense, but I would not be surprised if we see something like a Lapras on a Gek a little bit later in the event.
Yeah, that feels like a very Gek move. As much as he's gone with one of his aces there, I wouldn't have been surprised if they brought out the Lapras again. Something a little bit different. Nemesis, though, Vin Diesel going to complete that roster with a Gyarados, so that is a huge amount of responsibility now on both paths for Komai Esports. That's a lot of hyperscaling, so actually I feel like if you're going to select the Gyarados that moves over to Metallic, now is the best time to do it.
I'm really curious in this response to Cranny on this Machamp. I mean, we saw it on broadcast have a fantastic tournament for them, but it's such a rare picked Pokemon, only 11% in our tournament. We're very frequently seeing the submission build for a little bit of extra crowd control, but I mean, so far we haven't really seen a team come up with an answer to it. It's been really cool to see Cranny kind of break out in this tournament as well. I think one of the youngest players in our entire event becoming eligible just before this, and now Nemesis going to bring in some, some seasoned veterans now to the table.
Gek and Zante are certified old men in comparison to the rest of the roster. It really is quite incredible. But I'm a huge fan of Kranix. I said it yesterday. You're looking at their debut in the February Cup. It looked like they've been playing for 3 years already. They did not look out of place, and they've already had MVP performances at EUIC on that Buzzwole. So obviously bringing in the Machamp, they've got the ability to feed into all of their teammates and the huge amounts of damage that they can lay down with the likes of that Blaziken. Of course, setting up for those snipe shot pick-offs as well. Zante having a phenomenal day one as well. I'm just so worried about this Nemesis threat. I'm not going to lie, folks. I really want to see an EUW here today. Will it happen in game number 1?
Komai Esports versus Nemesis now in a draft where, honestly, I feel like we're getting a lot of the pocket picks for both of these teams. They're going to feel very comfortable with these compositions. Rally, of course, Yifan on this Miraidon going to be playing up very far forward. One of the few Pokemon that can contest the Sobble in the early game for last hits.
And Metallic, Rex and Metallic, I should say, moving up on Kranix. They've unfortunately been very much shelved onto their own side of the field. Metallic moving back with Rex now. Of course, these early Evos are central for Komai, and they are putting all of it on Leorio and Blaziken in the central area. Kabuskan now online.
Yeah, going to be walking up towards that top path to trying to shut down the Gyarados a little bit earlier. Oftentimes, when they are still stuck as the Magikarp, you will see the enemy central area Pokemon frequently rotate into that path to try to keep them away from Gyarados longer. Not to mention, it's a little bit easier to get a knockout and earn your experience your direction.
Capuchans rotate for Nemesis up into the top bar. Still no sign of the Gyarados as of yet, not a disaster as long as you're within the first 90 seconds or so. Big Sacred Sword down. Evolution quite importantly here for Kranix onto the Machoke. Lovely use of that exit strategy via the Surf coverage from Rex, but they haven't really been able to get much value out of that particular push. Nemesis now rotating down into central area and still no sign of the Gary.
Yeah, not quite yet. I mean, I'm not sure you're too worried about it, especially with how powerful your Zacian already is within this early game. You'll most likely be showing up a little bit after those 8-minute birds. On the other hand, Yifan getting in quite a few early scores on this Miraidon. Be doing some damage back the other way, but Zante will take that KO, evolving into level 7, getting that Inteleon.
Oh, the crowd are going to cheer every single good thing that goes Komai's way, and an Inteleon this early is a huge boon as Nemesis still struggle to look for the Evos themselves into the central area, looking over the birds. That's the Sacred Sword going down. That's Rex almost going down. Machoke going for a bit of a sprint, but decides to pull out before they get themselves too lost in the jungle.
Yeah, Rex and Vin Diesel go on a mission to try to get a little bit of experience. Obviously, the Psyduck's so good at disrupting some of the offense, and here's a big dive. Great response from Liario with that overheat, though.
Into the eject button, but not able to eject themselves out of the KO range of Vin Diesel. A little bit more success for them on the bottom path, but it's another bounce into the pad for Metallic. 22 and 13 goes down, and Vin Diesel able to escape the speed zone. Really lovely play from Nemesis.
Yeah, with empowered agility, right? Of course, Zacian has the chance to empower multiple of its boosts using the Eos energy it has, including agility for that fast dash away. Metallic not done fighting yet, but is picked up and put down by Kranix, but will not result in a KO. Both players need to retreat and stay close to their supporters.
Either side really willing to full commit to a push between either Reggie. Another stack going in for this Gyarados. Meanwhile, Komai Esports, though, shoring up on that bottom path Reggie and already taking that Reggie. It's a special attack buff. Don't really think there's much luck here for Kranix. Yeah, that was a bit of a fool's hope, you would say. They managed to suplex the Gyarados, but what about Narami here? Well, they've got backup. It's the slow bro. It's Gekko Kami. Rex going forward, maybe looking for a couple of surf disruptions. They certainly get lost in there, but on this bottom path, Komai Esports continue to push, whilst the front line of Komai is dealing with this Regieleki, won't hit that T1. On that bottom path, plenty of scores, although Nemesis still lead.
Yeah, Liario with this rotate gonna try to threaten the bottom path again, but Vin Diesel doing the same thing, keeping pace. Great defensive mind there to stop that in. Rex will go down, a nice focus blast, plus I believe a snipe shot. It's a whole lot of extra range damage that Psyduck not quite prepared for.
Let's take a look at the sides of your screens, folks. 2 level 10s for Komai, only the 1 for Nemesis. Vin Diesel certainly looking like the best player of the match to me from either side. Komai, though, playing with a little bit of team spirit, which is certainly something that we've been asking more from them over the course of this season. They are looking better and better, it feels. I'm so glad to see that despite this is their first game today, Zoinks, they're not looking cold.
Yeah, coming out with a lot of steam. Very, very exciting. I mean, Zante puts up yet another one. This Inteleon, so phenomenal for this player. I really doubt we're going to see another game with this player on this Pokemon in this set, knowing that Nemesis is going to be going back to the draft screen rather soon. For now, though, they can count on Vin Diesel on this Zacian. It's been such a phenomenal pick, especially today, as they're clearing their central area.
I really like that they've thrown them into the central area. Plenty of Eos energy going to empower those moves. Of course, Sacred Sword empowered, really dangerous. And this looking particularly dangerous for Komai Esports. They've finally gotten something onto Zante, who sees the duck and says, I like you roasted. The Midnight Prance actually misses because they fell Stinger out of there. A miss from the barrage below and a miss on the submission, but the defensive duties have been completed. Komai with aplomb.
Yeah, trying to complete a little bit of scoring pressure from Nemesis, but nothing gonna happen. Great defense by Komai Esports, especially like you're right, called out Relic. A lot of Unite moves missing.
Ooh, that's a big overheat, and the Sword Doggo goes down. Bright Future Meteor Storm, identifying, isolating, exterminating Inteleon onto zone, looking to try and pressure, but Narami's got them covered. Meanwhile, still in the middle, Leorio overheat. Oh, a little too early, but manages to dash in there anyway. Nemesis going to be feeling that one.
Yeah, I think everybody thought that one was going to take the KO. Asmonville was already walking away and goes, oh, well, all right, it's okay. Liario does take that KO, and it's actually going to follow up with Asmonville going down. Great plays from this Blaziken, and he's now going to be leading the levels, tied up with Zante for this squad. But seriously, 2 level 12s. What a big push from Nemesis right now as Vin Diesel and Metallic combined for 2.
Showed a little too much face there, and now they're going to give this T1 crack another go. It's only Gekko Kami, but they're versus the world. 25 25 down, 28 down, 13-point overdunk, not great value, but Nemesis extend their lead 94 to 132.
Yeah, with the set this close, they just want to make sure those goal zones are broken, giving them a little bit of space. They're already playing from behind. You're going to rotate up towards that top path, not in time for the EUIC, but they can try to force another fight. These stuns from Rex and Asnimal are setting up these big dives from Yeetfan and Metallic.
XIII might as well use it now, although the Azure Spy Vision has been popped, looking to surf and swim their way back to the team. Well, doesn't matter. Zante is feeling it. Electro Drift don't matter. Here's my finger gun, and you can take it. It's a huge submission, and into another. This is extraordinary from Komai Esports, who take the lead. Wow, wow, wow.
Yeah, Zante just proving why this Inteleon is such a highly considered ban from so many of these teams. At maximum range, you're doing ridiculous amounts of damage, and with the amount of time that the crowd control can be provided from the rest of your roster, specifically with that Machamp, you have so much time to set up these shots, and the opposite is also true. Nemesis does not have the time to avoid these attacks. I think the target priority for Komai has been really interesting. They've been trying to take Rex out of these fights extremely early, so Nemesis is always off balance.
Rami caught out, having to get out of there just about, and Leorio's taken out the Miraidon. That's a huge amount of pressure immediately off the backs of this European squad. They surround Regirock, they're going for a flip, a little bit risky, Overheat manages to do the business this time. Rex caught upfield. This isn't going to directly translate into the Ray Pit. Plenty of time to respawn, Zoinks.
Yeah, I can't believe Nemesis relented there. It feels like when you had that upper position, you kind of trapped Komai Esports down towards the bottom side of the map. Even if you lose your support this close to Rayquaza, feels like that might be a potential for a go button, but instead they do retreat. They have a Zacian at level 14. It's not like they're hurting for levels. A team fight could still go their way, but Komai is looking great on that win track record.
Yeah, I see that level 14 and I raise you 2 for Komai Esports, but Nemesis looking to take the issue to Komai Esports, looking to try and catch them off kill, to slow beam down onto the Gary. You have to get the KO into the Dragon Current after Zante. Maybe a huge turnaround here from Nemesis if they can capitalize. No, they do eventually take down the Flying Dragon. Sovereign Sword onto Zante. They've already used their Unite move. Everyone has used their Unite move. No Electric Drift for you. Kranix and Leorio shut down that hope. It's all on Vin Diesel looking for the swing, and it's a big miss. Komai Esports in a world of their own. Rayquaza is theirs.
Yeah, Vin Diesel in a 1v3 situation simply felt like they could not wait long enough in the tall grass due to the response coming so late. Komai Esports going to take down, of course, one of their biggest pieces of opposition in this matchup and take down the Rayquaza. They're not going to have too much room to score. Blaziken is going to have a shield. Machamp did go down to the Rayquaza while battling it, so they should only have 1 to 2 raid shields at the moment.
Not ideal, but they have taken that win con away from Nemesis, and they have reinforcements on both pads. Asnimal, here comes Zante, looking for the bounce engagement. Metallic thinks otherwise. On that top path, here comes Vin Diesel. On that bottom path, in goes a Hundo Burger, served fresh.
Yeah, we're gonna have the Machamp walking up towards the tier 2. Raid shield or not, a small amount of points will go in. 50 more. Nemesis had 30 seconds to try to turn the tables on this score lead, but Zante, again, the arbiter of this squad, always shutting down this push. Metallic picked up into the sky by Kranix yet again, and Komai Esports are shutting the door on Nemesis.
Not the ideal endgame, not by any stretch of the imagination, but Komai make it work. This team always seems to make it work. Until that is, they face the best in their region, the best in the world. Well, Zoinks, they've taken it to Nemesis.
Wow, what a final touchdown there.
Yeah,
Zacian running all the way off screen, almost a full screen snipe shot. Woo. And EU gets a map win in what felt like has been so long in this tournament. And this hometown crowd can still feel like the dream is alive.
What did I say? They got youth on their side, youthful obliviousness, maybe, ego, maybe. You know what, Zoinks? I'm gonna take whatever I can get at this point. I feel like we need a victory. It'd be so awesome to see at least one of these EU teams make top 4. Yes, we know what your opponents look like in the semi-finals. It's absolutely terrifying, but put your name in the hat. Just one more to go for Komai.
Yeah, really scary spot for that team still in the end game, right? Yeah. They only had one Rayquaza shield to work with. It was on Leario, who had an amazing performance. Imagine getting 8 KOs and 97,000 damage and not even being like the player.
As soon as they notice the threat to Zante, they turn about, they look to make sure that that KO is secured. If Zante goes down, all right, but at least we've made sure that it's good value. We've punished that invader into our backline. Nemesis, for me, an Inteleon ban is a must going into game number 2.
Definitely, yeah, or at least a first pick position if we're not going to be banning it. Maybe even like the Miraidon ban into first pick Inteleon is something that I would be considering. Gonna be tough since as Nemesis has chosen that second pick position.
Aegislash, our first ban. Blissey, Hooper, we did see the Hooper ban last time out. We're going to see the Hooper ban again. Komai Esports, currently hovering that Talonflame. I don't imagine that goes through. The Blissey, yes. How do you respond, Nemesis?
Yeah, we don't often see the Blissey ban on the purple side of the field, right? But okay, Inteleon is going to be banned. We're talking about like it's a rare thing, 54%. Still an extremely frequently banned Pokemon, 100%. Yeah, especially into day 2, right? First pick for Komai Esports could be this Psyduck. It has been such a present threat for Nemesis when Rex has been locking that Pokemon in. I mean, self-proclaimed best duck NA, and certainly has a whole lot of footage to prove it.
Yeah, Leario, sorry, not Leario, sorry. Now I've gotten myself confused. Leo, you might see him as Narami in-game. Got a couple of supports to work with. I'm surprised that they actually chose to bring Slowbro over to Gek first and foremost. Then again, Gek, who himself has had an incredible tournament, I think deserves that shutdown tool in Slowbeam. The Psyduck instead would be picked up by the self-appointed best NA Duck Rex. They've got Yeetfan onto that Miraidon. Leorio going to go the path of the Blaziken again. No surprise, they were phenomenal working from that central area.
For sure, for sure. And on the Nemesis side, we're doing basically the strategy we thought, but just flip-flopped, right? It is the ban of the Inteleon and first pick of Miraidon. So having a lot better of a chance into the attacker position, and likely we're going to be looking at a Zante, either Espeon or Pikachu in that slot, which we have seen previously. Asmonville is going to get the Umbreon again, and the Zacian will be locked in for Nemesis. Currently, it's being highlighted by Metallic, but most likely we will see a rotate onto Vin Diesel.
You know, I did see the Gardevoir highlighted there. We have seen Zante on Gardevoir previously, but the Mewtwo Y I think makes a lot more sense considering the current meta means that he's at least got that early game presence and of course the Mega Evolution. Fantastic for assaulting those goal zones. Kranix going to remain on the Machamp, which really just leaves us with Vin Diesel. They've already got that Zacian locked down, so this is probably more a pick for Metallic more than anything. The Mimikyu maybe does put a little bit of a question mark on that. Vin Diesel pretty good on this Pokemon as well. Certainly when there's less backline 2 access. I mean, that is a big clump of a composition that Komai has, but ooh, I don't know, maybe Trick Room, maybe Shadow Sneak. I mean, I would imagine certainly Shadow Claw would be my preferred moveset going into this.
Yeah, we're definitely going with the Shadow Sneak, Shadow Claw build. I mean, even with Eldegoss and Mewtwo Y as potential squishies to take down, but Shadow Claw does love to brawl as well. So even if it is a tanky composition, Mimikyu can be well suited for either of those angles. I like that quite a bit, but Vin Diesel definitely going to be sticking with this Mimikyu. Metallic, very comfortable laning with the Zacian as well. In fact, the first time I actually really got to see this player pop off was on this Pokemon on his debut, so I think that is going to be a really exciting look. And again, I think Yeetfan on this Miraidon is going to be a really cool look again. Last time, maybe it didn't really take the game, but I think one of the biggest things that Nemesis needs to try to focus on and figure out is making sure that this Rex Psyduck just stays around a little bit longer. Those snipe shots were so tough for it to deal with, but now it's a different beast in the Mewtwo Y.
Zante's been a bit stuffed over really with this draft. I can understand why they left his pick till last. Just see what you're trying to deal with and ultimately going with the Mewtwo Y. I don't think it's a particularly bad pick, but having both the Inteleon and the Miraidon removed from that pool when we know that that's what they specialize in, you just got to praise Nemesis for the way that they've drafted. I think they've done it exceptionally well, but you can draft as well as you like. You still got to put it into practice here on Thea Sky Ruins Game 2.
All right, Kranix and Narami going to be heading into the top path. Of course, Gek and Zante, teammates seemingly forever, into the bottom path with Leorio heading up the central area for Komai Esports. This matchup in the top path is going to be Kranix's Machamp versus Metallic's Zacian. Not exactly an on-paper great look for the purple side, but who knows, this Machamp has been doing absolute wonders in our tournament.
I mean, Komai struggled on that top path for the opening first 2 minutes. That was until Leorio joins them on the top path. And even when it was a 3v4 scenario, Komai is still looking strong. What I really appreciate from this roster, especially on this stage out of any stage, they're showing a little bit of patience. They are showing the wisdom beyond their years, which I highlighted yesterday. And that leadership comes through Gecko Kami. It comes through Zante. 3v3 on the bottom path. How about that for a catch?
Huge pull from Liario. However, Vin Diesel in the absolute perfect position that they want to be in to line up some 6 Shadow Claws. Vin Diesel trying to get 2 KOs. The Suns from U2Y getting a little bit sketchy, but in the end, it's a KO streak of 3 from Vin Diesel to open the game.
And it's the Rex rotate, not that they really needed to apply much pressure at all. They might as well come in and score the 6 as well.
Yeah,
Why
showing
not?
up.
Just, I mean, yeah, they showed up. They might, oh, you know what? They got the seal on the Citrus Berry, actually. That is a bit more value than we would expect. Down to half strength already, that zone. Nemesis really punishing Komai for the smallest of errors.
Yeah, I like that play a lot. I mean, Vin Diesel getting lined up for some really big damage. Not to mention, that's going to be great experience for the Miraidon in the early game. Yifan has had kind of a struggle getting up to that level 9 previously. I don't think we're going to be seeing that in this game number 2.
Critical evolution for Kranix onto the Machoke. In the face of a Zacian and a level 7 Mimikyu, no thank you. I will stay within the safety of my bubble. Wait, you don't have a goal hacker? You should have brought it, my friend.
Oh man, I don't know if I could suggest that on my worst enemies to have that battle item equipped, but that's all right. Middle experience, good to go towards Nemesis. That is no surprise with how strong the early game has been for this North American team. It would honestly be really tough for Komai Esports to dedicate anything into that push. However, they are not going to be deterred onto this bottom side swing despite Vin Diesel being here almost at level 9. The play with me Unite move right around the corner.
Fan of how Nemesis are playing around this slow, bro. They are not giving Gecko Kami a moment to breathe for rotating. Speaking of, Komai down onto this bottom path, 30 seconds away from our first Reggie phase. Over the Indeedee, lovely Shadow Sneak. They're not going to commit to that surely with 4 surrounding.
Jump into a surf, tough look, you know what I mean? You never want to be doing that at any given time. Liario is going to lead with the overheat, take down basically all the Swablu and Alterians with just 1 move, and then actually use the Blaze Kick for safety. So a bit of a reverse of the moves we normally see when contesting wild Pokemon, but either way, a very smart choice. Shadow Sneak will land on Liario, and it's going to be an immediate jump in from Vin Diesel.
Surf will not save Liario, down at level 8, and then there goes Zante, and there goes Narami. Nemesis are rolling right now. 2 KO streak into the backline. Gecko Kami can't do anything. That T1 zone broken. That bottom path Reggie in the hands of Nemesis. Kranix watching brief on the top path. There ain't nothing that they can do.
The North American Mimikyu effect, it feels like now, with Vin and Trainer absolutely crushing it on this Pokemon in back-to-back games, and it has been exemplary to see. Nemesis now with this full rotate towards the top side. It is going to be everything Komai Esports can do to not even try to take the Regieleki, but simply to defend this tier 1 goal zone with only the Blaziken having that Unite move status unlocked.
Yeah, they're not going to try and challenge this, are they? Not sure how. I mean, Kranix is going to have a little bit of vision. Liario, of course, has the tool to be able to unlock this Regieleki in their favor. In they go into the backline, but it's way too late. Sai, Bright Future Meteor Storm chasing away Narami, turning around. They don't have anybody in front of them no more. They were taken out 3 minutes ago. 32 to 146. More scores potentially going in. There's Rex with another ballooning up to, what is this now? We have 9 on the bottom path. Yeah, whatever. 152 ultimately the end score. Another 2 on top of that. 3 stacks for Nemesis. Komai reeling.
Yeah, Komai Esports, though, rallying back for this fight. This could be a push on this tier 1. They know Miraidon won't be there since Gecko Kami is doing a 1v1 to the bottom path, so they can push in with no attacker to defend.
That's a big whiff from the Sovereign Sword. The Infinite Cyburn goes down and chases away Metallic. They have to make this count. There's the Shadow Sneak from downtown. Oh man, they miss Kranix mercifully from a Komai Esports perspective, and they back off, barely any points on the board.
Yeah, really well defended by Metallic. I mean, you were in a 1v4 situation there for a brief moment. You do get a big Unite move off that hits every single target on the enemy squad, stops a couple of Pokemon from scoring, gives you a bit of time, but Vin Diesel, the real hero there, with a mid-central area Shadow Sneak at maximum range that is going to leap up to defend that goal zone. So despite a good chance, Miraidon, notably an amazing goal zone defender, not being present, it feels like that was the time to push, but Komai Esports getting stifled.
They are completely ignoring this bottom path Reggie, Komai, in favor of a big old send on the T1. Out of dodge Rex, they are going to be isolated, they are going to be KO'd. 3 scores here, and even Vin Diesel, even with how good a game that they've been having, they understand they're not going to be able to fight this one. Do some quick maths. That's a big old 39-point overdone.
Okay.
How about that? Brings them back within 30. Yes, they lose that bottom path. Reggie steal, by the way, but now they can set up shop here. Big catch, huge catch. Onto that Zacian. Here comes the barrage blow on top of that. Miraidon falls.
No, that felt like bullying. I think Machamp and Blazing were kicking sand at the beach in the eyes of that poor Zacian. You had no idea they were hiding there in the tall grass. What an ambush from Komai Esports. So after a big push into that top side, as well as kind of a slight defense, so Nemesis couldn't get too many points into that bottom goal zone, they're going to be very close in terms of score, as well as having the Regieleki walking down path. What Nemesis needs to do here is obviously take out this Regieleki quick, because Komai is going to be constantly on the offense at this point.
They were looking for that big Ura moment, but you're not going to get it without prep. And they prepped beautifully. Komai out down on the bottom path. Slow beam. Absolutely no hope for us. Never mind. Never mind they didn't get the KO. I retract everything that I said. In fact, they ain't going to go and KO Gecko Kami. As soon as they have something massive go in their favor, Komai Esports, huge misstep, Narami pays the price.
I mean, that's the power of when Miraidon is actually there to defend the goal zone. That Bright Future Meteor Storm Unite move has some giant area of effect damage. Not only is it a big area, but it also hurts a whole lot. Defends that goal zone well, despite one target being locked down via a slow beam.
That's a long recharge. They should have it back. They should have it back for Rayquaza, but there is another question before that. It's this bottom path Reggie showing up, pressing up. Nemesis looking to steal away as many clouds as they can within Komai's zone. They are all, look at all 3 of them in this tall grass. No way in for Komai, and there's certainly no way out if they do go through the front door.
Okay, one Psychic almost pulled the Mewtwo Y into range, and then a Telekinesis almost grabbed the other. But Gecko Kami, the first one to get hit. Some exchange of damage, but both teams are going to be sent reeling. Regirock has spawned in. This is going to be a big contest. 30 seconds until Ray. Miraidon with the Electro Drift.
Oh, big submission, backline, Rex isolated, but going to find a way out. Leorio, though, taken down Admirable, and there goes the Miraidon too. Komai Esports, in one of the biggest team fights of this game, win the team fight of this game. They rotate to the Ray Pit. Nemesis will have all 5 back online, but Miraidon with no Unite move, never mind, just popped.
It's going to be a double Dragon spawn. Rayquaza and Ethan on the Miraidon are spawning in at the exact same time. There's already some damage onto the Rayquaza, but it looks like Komai are going to be still trying to take a big team fight outside.
I don't like that they've gone straight to the Ray Pit. I do like that they've taken down Rex. That's a massive pick, but they've got the response. Nemesis, in goes Leorio, back line, trying to get that Umbreon. Finally, the 2 KO streak comes through for Machamp. But where do they go from here? Top of your picture, you see that Zacian. There's Metallic. Watch out for Vin Diesel. Still got that wall in between them. The Shadow Sneak hits the Rayquaza. But Komai Esports, here's the patience we're talking about. Vin Diesel in, trying to catch them out. Submission, but not on your own. Big Psychic pushes them away. Coin flip time. Oh, it's Metallic.
Metallic takes it down. Komai Esports, such a tough spot. Hitting the Rayquaza is such a huge risk when you don't have your Blaziken spawned back in yet, and they simply weren't there in time. They did a little bit of the damage to the Rayquaza, but it felt like they were just getting the job done for Nemesis as they get the Mimikyu back into the middle, and that really starts to crush it in terms of the damage numbers. Zacian, of course, the one to take down the Rayquaza, but Nemesis in a great position to tie up our series 1-1.
Yeah, this is that lack of experience, unfortunately. Yes, I know you've got 2 very juicy targets in that Ray Pit. Yes, you've already put in a little bit of the work onto the Rayquaza, but you could not have said it better, Zoinks. Why are you doing the work for the opposition team when you don't have your prime Secura in the right spot to try and capitalize? It was a coin flip, but it was a weighted coin, and Nemesis have been given a free route back into this series.
Yeah, they're looking really amazing right now. Leorio is going to put in 100 points onto this bottom tier 1 and take down the Umbreon. So certainly a solid contest. I believe this is going to be Nemesis relinquishing that outer tier 1. They know they have a strong enough points lead that even giving up that tier 1, they will still be ahead. All they got to do is hold down this home goal zone. So far, they're looking okay. Komai Esports putting in some of these small points, but unfortunately, I do not think it is enough. We are going to be going up to a tied series between Komai Esports and Nemesis.
Definitely wasn't lost in draft, Zoinks. Definitely was not lost in draft. I think that Komai, for that first 30 seconds at Ray, did a really exceptional job. Again, off the back of that Regirock, a huge team fight win. You've got that defensive and special defensive buff, and they use it beautifully. But having Komai was always on catch-up. They were relying on those few moments to drag themselves back into relevancy. Aegislash, our first ban, then down on the board, and again, Nemesis hammering home. We don't want to see this Narami Hooper.
Okay, yeah, I think it's a really, really good call. It was some of the most powerful Trick Hoopa gameplay we saw was Komai Esports' debut of it. Their bans are going to stay the same as well. I mean, this Aegislash is kind of a freak of nature when it comes to either Metallic or Vin playing it, so I think these bans make sense. Nemesis is going to stick with that Inteleon ban strategy.
Right on first pick, Blissey available, and Narami will go with Blissey over Zante on the Miraidon. Now, if I am this Nemesis roster, I'm looking at Relics, I'm looking at Yifan. They're the same player, by the way, and I'm thinking, let's get this Miraidon down, because not having Zante pew-pewing from the backline, that's certainly good. Metallic, though, also going to steal away the Blaziken from Leorio for the first time this series.
Interesting. We still have a few question marks where people are going to end up. Zante, of course, we've been talking about a lot. Where does Asnable go? Seeing as that Umbreon has now been banned, and Gecko Kami going to pick up the Slowbro. Zante returns to the Mewtwo. Why? Well,
Kranix and Leorio waiting to last. Big game players are made on stages like this. Let's see what you've got, lads. Nemesis floating over that Eldegoss. Feels sensible, doesn't feel out of place. Looking at Vin Diesel, no, going to switch out with Asnable. We've seen that Blastoise a couple of times today. Did like the look of it.
Yeah, Defender Blastoise is a really interesting option, and wow, okay.
Kranix Buzzwole, let's go.
Hey, if y'all played ladder in EU, I think we're about to get an experience of it right now. Kranix and Leorio and Buzzwole and Greninja. Vin Diesel going to pick up this Zacian, and okay, EU, let them know how excited you are for this squad. Very, very cool to see. I mean, obviously, we've seen Buzzwole competitively for a long, long time. Greninja recently getting its time in the sun. This tournament, though, only a 10% pick rate.
Yeah, not high at all. But Leorio is one of those players where, honestly, you put him on any sort of attack damage carry, and I'd expect them to do a good job. We've seen them helm the Zeraora Renaissance, of course, from last year. Kranix, I don't think we've seen enough data from them just yet, but when we look at Buzzwoles in EU, I think immediately... Shout out to the Sneaky Seal, by the way. Great to see you here. Great to see so many people here. Wonderful. Show your support for who you love, no matter where you're from, by the way. But honestly, going on to that comfort pick for me, I love it, I love it, I love it. Going into the Zacian, I think that could be a huge play in combination with Leorio, who has that ability to kite. Certainly going to be looking to avoid whatever pressure Yeetman Relics could put down with that Miraidon. My concern for Komai is actually not from those pieces of the puzzle, but from Metallic on the Blaziken. This is a phenomenal Blaziken player that we are talking about, and it offers one of the best objective secure in the game. That is something certainly now that Komai is starting to lack.
Yeah, I was just going to bring that up. I feel like now all of a sudden objectives got that much harder. Blaziken secure, of course, but you also got the backup of Asnable to just clear a ton of space with that Blastoise. Of course, with a lot of those Surf moves, but even if we start to see the Unite move for coverage around some of these Ray fights. But it is going to be a bit of mind games. We've got the Slowbro, who is a really fun, weird to think about counter to the Blastoise. Well, let's get into it, Relic. Game number 3 between Komai Esports and Nemesis.
Open the door, last chance saloon, EU. It's all on Komai Esports. Well, we're heading towards 3 North American squads. 4 American squads in total in those semifinals.
Yeah, gotta be biased. They gotta be biased. Let's go. Leorio gonna be clearing out that central area on the Greninja. Interesting to see they are going with the Rapid Fire Scarf and Muscle Band, so we are likely looking at Water Shuriken. It is the better moveset. It makes me sad. I'd love to see Surf.
I want to see a day where we've got 5 Pokemon all with Surf and just hang 10, have a good time. Certainly Komai Esports looking to try and face up against Nemesis on this T1 zone, get a little bit of pressure, take away the Indeedee, obviously get towards that Slowbro Evo as soon as possible. Level 4 pop there for Kranix.
All right, yeah, early game looking okay for the side of Nemesis. Level 4 for Asnable can be a tougher Pokemon to get some early experience on that Squirtle. We have 3v3 here, but a 3v2 in the top side. It's Narami on that Blissey gonna get the Evo.
Yeah, we don't see it picked much during this tournament because it really is just banned that much. And when we see good Blissey players, we know that they can be the difference makers. A lot of pressure from that Mega Mewtwo-Y. Asnable picks up that Citrus Berry. There goes the Charge Beam, and 2 versus 2 on T1 pad at this point. Komai Esports is not going to pressure.
Yeah, that X-Attack Mewtwo-Y is truly so scary for any Pokemon to have to contend with. At the very least, though, Miraidon can kind of out-kite it. The auto-attack damage and then Empowered Charge Beam is going to give the range victory to the Miraidon in some slight circumstances. So you'll often see EFAN trying to do a little bit of short Charge Beam shots into wild Pokemon and then save that Empowered one for some of these bigger fights.
Oh, lovely Blaze Kick there from the Combusken. Double Evo, Greninja and Blaziken. Whoa, into the ground you go. Make a tree out of you. And Granix popping off now with the passive in full blossom. Going for the chase down on Relics. And you talk about the ability to kite. No kiting in sight. The winds not a blowing. Well, at least not for Nemesis. Fully unfurling the sails of this Komai Esports cruise.
I mean, these were your last 2 picks, the Buzzwole and Greninja. You saved these for the special sauce to see what the enemy composition was going to be. These are direct responses to Nemesis's game plan. Amazing to see it already working on paper.
Here's another Blaze Kick, fails to catch one of the clouds. No flank from Komai Esports, so what you see in front of you, Nemesis, is what you got, no KOs. First set of Regis on the way, Zoinks just seconds away.
Yeah, Buzzwole is going to be scoring. We see a few yellow pips on the map on the top side as well, so likely we're going to see Kranix not show up to this team fight and instead solo farm up and try to get closer to a Reggie Alecki secure.
Rex runs away, floats away, I guess. Oh, the overheat, backline, Mega Mewtwo-Y, but Leorio falls. Asnable watching Breathe. All 3 of them there. The Surf could take all of them. It's actually going to be the basic auto from Asnable that claims the Regiseal, and now they go to work. Miss from the overheat. Mega Mewtwo-Y, their timer is done and dusted. Narami taking out the picture. Big push from Nemesis, and it's too late for the rotate, Kranix. Your T1 zone is going down, or have they run out of points? No, look at the little chips onto Asnable. Finally gets that 30 away. Only an 8-point overdunk and a slender lead for Team NA.
And then always feels like one thing you can count on from Nemesis, no matter what team they're playing in the world, you get a good push, a good teamfight win against them, you better expect hell the next time you play against them. Those heat check responses from them are always so fantastic. They do not get down on themselves if the match starts going sideways. They really have some awesome energy to bring these fights back. But now it's Kranix's turn to respond.
Oh, beautiful Super Swallow Slam, all on your own. Why not? I know that Narami was there, but it's all about the power plays. It's all about the flex, farming aura right now, and they're going for a T2 push.
Oh man, Vin Diesel, one of the only defenders Asnable's already knocked out of the way via that first superpower, and that is going to be Vin Diesel gone already. Relics needs to charge up this Empowered Charge Beam if they want to push off the rest of the squad, as Komai has still not relented.
Charge Beam basically just giving his team cover. Everything settles down. Nemesis are going to be left alone, but Komai don't want to go away with no freebies. They're going to pick up here both buffs from enemy central area. Nemesis now with only a 4-point lead. Maybe a chance to push them to T1, but well done, Nemesis, for sending both Vin Diesel and Relics down to that bottom zone. Now Asnable joining the party. No counter scores. Big send from Vin Diesel, forced into the eject button to get away.
Yeah, in a scary position. Gecko Komai playing a very rarely selected telekinesis slowbro, but a really solid move in this setting. You're going into a few all-rounders, a couple of which, in terms of Blaziken and Zacian, that both have good immunity to crowd control sometimes with their moves. Surf might, or sorry, not have as much impact there.
Nemesis after the Reggie Rock. Kranix straight into the source, straight into the deep end. Little too late, Super Swole Slam gonna be eaten up, and although Metallic is knocked up, they land safely on their feet. Nemesis facing up to the music and playing it well.
All right, they got a great defense buff now. The question is, what prioritizes for this team? Do you make this early team fight around the Regieleki your main shot, or do you try to just get as many of those Unite moves back online via your central area? And at the time being, it seems like both squads have elected for that farming position. Makes a lot of sense, but Komai Esports are going to be the first ones to win position around the Regieleki. And, oh, I forgot, yeah, Rex is on this team. We're pushing tier 2 on bottom path.
it does mean that Komai Esports has free real estate on this Regieleki. Leorio going back alongside Gecko Kami, going to try and deny some scores, opening up 84 to 137. Not going to push the issue necessarily, Nemesis. Maybe going to have a quick look on this Regieleki. A little bit slower than they would like it, Komai Esports, but now looking to do to Nemesis what Nemesis have done to them. 3 on this bottom path. Asnable and Rex lie in wait. Got a couple of egg bombs, got a surf into a surf. Bit of rogue waving between the two. Leorio looking to chip away at Rex. 33, that's not going to go down. That's way too many points. Hydro Typhoon. Here comes the reinforcements from Relics. Infinite Cyburn. Again, eaten up really by all of the shielding provided by this T1 and indeed the heavy lifting done by Rex. Water Shuriken burst into the backline, misses so many of those just pure Water Shurikens, but finally gets the KO onto the Eldegoss and then again onto the Miraidon. How much more can you do from here, Leorio? Because here comes that Blaziken, metallic up against the wall that Blissey won't escape. There we go, a size strike, but that's more just to cover the escape for Komai Esports, who simply could not get a look in.
Yeah, really good play from Leorio to pick up a couple of KOs there, but I do want to praise Asnable for some really intelligent play on that Blastoise. Some might discredit that really early Hydro Typhoon in that defense, but you've got to understand the situation. Zacian and Blaziken both remaining around the top side of the map to defend against their Regieleki. You simply had to buy so much time that you were not in favor for. You got to spend some resources. Love that early play call.
Oh, wonderful work from Kranix again using that superpower, and Rex is going to fall. Oh, big stun with a telekinesis. Great catch on Metallic from Gecko Kami. What a wonderful piece of work from Komai to put the Registeel in their back pocket. What timing, Zoinks. 15 seconds from Ray.
And 2 auto attackers with an empowerment from the Registeel is going to be so scary. The Greninja and Mewtwo Y are going to be extremely strong and terrifying for Nemesis to have to deal with. Nemesis, by the way, really going to be behind on the level game. Miraidon just ticking over into level 12. They're going to try to take this fight patiently, and so far, Komai, with that ranged advantage, are comfortable giving them a little bit of room to breathe.
You cannot set it up more tense, folks. Seconds into the 2 minutes and nobody willing to bite. Nemesis with the all-important lead. Komai might have to push. Nemesis with coverage over both zones on both paths. The potential backcaps could entail. Little chase there from Leorio. Gecko Kami misses with a telekinesis. There's the twisters from the Rayquaza, no knockups. Little pokes here and there, waiting, lying in work. Nemesis hoping to find that open door.
Yeah, Gecko now does have position in that enemy tall grass, which is really huge for a defender, especially one with that telekinesis hope. They do grab Miraidon already down. Slow Beam is going to take that target first, and now Komai is just going to be chasing Nemesis around the Rayquaza pit.
Water Shuriken burst. There's the Hydro Typhoon, and the Cotton Cloud Crash has been popped as well. Watch out for Vin Diesel on his backline. There's the knockup onto Metallic, who goes down by the Mewtwo Y, but the Mewtwo Y won't be around for too much longer. Just 2 alive for Nemesis, who are chased out of the pit. Vin Diesel back in, looking for the same. Unbelievable, the kid does it!
There is one perfect way when there is one enemy Pokemon that can steal the Rayquaza to stop them from doing so, and that is use them to secure the Rayquaza. Buzzwole picks up Vin Diesel Zacian and uses it to knock out the Ray. Komai Esports securing that major objective. What a play for this young team.
They turned legal for the UCS. Not 3 months ago even, the youngest person at this tournament with potentially the biggest play, not just for Komai, but the hopes of EU. And there is still hope. I'm proud to report from this booth, Komai Esports into the semis.
Nemesis out, Komai Esports make top 4 of the AO's Cup. A squad that has had a tough year, and oh my word, Kranix getting the vouch from the squad. I mean, setting up truly a beautiful play with that Machamp Unite move in that game too. Obviously, it didn't go their way, but you follow up with a play to close out a series like that. I mean, MVP level stuff.
Absolutely, and I love that from Gecko Kami, taking the moment to just bring Kranix aside and saying, you did so good, you did incredible, because these moments, they can be overwhelming, Zoinks, but you got to stay in the game.
Yeah.
You did great now, but let's take that into the next one. It, as we said at the very top of the series, it don't get easier, and to be quite frank, it don't get harder than Luminosity Gaming, but in this form, anything can happen.
Yeah, 100%. I mean,